Hi, my name is Pat Poitvian. I'm the Senior Associate Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Division of Biomed at Brown University and an Associate Professor in the Department of Pediatrics.
I'm Tracy Guthrie. I am a Vice Chair for Clinical Faculty Affairs in the Department of Psychiatry and Human Behavior, Program Director for the General Psychiatry Residency Program, and Assistant Dean in the Medical School for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Junior folks today really feel that they have to have it all done. And if it's not all done, it's a little messy. But what they've just entered is life. Life is messy, and it's not necessarily bad. I have done many, many different things, and all of them have made me who I am. And I would change none of it. And I draw on all of these things. I've worked in every different clinical setting. And I also think the other point is that sometimes when you're a junior, you don't recognize mentorship when it's happening. It's like feedback. It's like, can I get some feedback? Or I just gave you feedback. But they won't recognize mentorship, and I didn't. I didn't know what was happening. I was really like, why is this person telling me this? I absolutely think I should do this. I'm going to do this, but I'm not really sure, what's happening. And it was really quite helpful. We never stop needing a mentor also. I think some people think, well, I'm out of residency now, I'm out of fellowship now, I'm a junior attending now, I should no longer require this mentorship. That should never be the case. But you have to choose your mentors wisely, very, very wisely, because there are some bad actors out there that don't have your best interest at heart. And so a mentor should always have your best interest at heart. If that is not the case, you need to find another mentor. How do you leave a mentorship? You just say goodbye. You just don't stay. It's not, you are in complete control of your career. Leave a bad mentorship situation. So I think that's one of the foundational things, is figuring out what you want to do and letting that happen and unfold as it goes, and not be afraid of saying no to people. This is your path. You didn't sell your soul to academia. It did no contract did that happen. Live your own path at all times.
I think the advice that you just shared is really applicable to any junior faculty, not just individuals who are underrepresented. But there's an important point that you made that I really want to highlight. Many junior faculty do feel pressure for their ideas and for their identity to be perfectly formed before seeking out a mentor. I think that pressure is particularly high for faculty and for trainees who are underrepresented in medicine. We have been forged, if you will, in an environment that was really not made for individuals who are underrepresented. And there's a constant pressure to be perfect, because there are, generally speaking, additional eyes that are evaluating you and assessing you in a way that is not always productive and that is not always constructive. And so there's a great deal of fear around making a mistake, around looking bad, around not looking perfect. And I think that fear exists for everyone, but it is particularly acute for individuals who are underrepresented in medicine. And that fear oftentimes is an enormous obstacle to seeking out the help that you need, because in order to be a person who's in a position to require help, you have to admit there is something that you need. You have to admit that there is something that you don't know or that is imperfect about you. And when you have traveled through academia as someone who's underrepresented, you've spent your entire career trying to present yourself as perfect. And so to be in a position now where you are seeking guidance and seeking help feels anathema to that. And so giving individuals space to understand that in order to really begin a successful mentorship relationship, you have to understand a little bit about what you need, but also be receptive to the idea that maybe you don't know entirely all of the things that you need. And you really have to find people that you can trust. Because in that relationship, you have to be able to be vulnerable, and you have to be able to share what your deficits are, what your challenges are, and be receptive to the feedback when it comes. And that can be very, very challenging for individuals who are underrepresented.
Well, I think one of the things is that it's hard to become what you don't see. And that's why it's very important to have people who are underrepresented in all levels in medicine. Otherwise, you don't think it's possible for you to become an orthopedic surgeon or a psychiatrist or a pediatrician if you can't see that at the place where you are. You can't find anyone to emulate in that sort of way or speak to the same lived experience in that sort of way. Pat and I have talked about the shortcut language that exists. And when you have a lot in common with someone, there is an ease and a shortcut in being able to communicate your lived experience. When you are underrepresented and you're not in that, you're in a very heavily majority space, there is no shortcut. And there's a lot of energy that goes into communicating, listening, hearing, understanding what's happening in that space. So when you find this space where people are like you and have your same lived experience, it's almost as if you're able to breathe for the first time. And that takes a tremendous amount of pressure off of someone who's trying to navigate another very difficult thing, which is becoming a physician or starting their career or getting promoted or getting that grant or whatever it is that people are trying to do. So the difficult challenge is in that the spaces aren't meant for people like us. And so we have to do a lot of extra work, and it's not tangible. You may not even know it's going on. You may not know why you're fatigued all the time. And it's sort of like I imagine, because I don't speak another language, but I imagine going to another country and having to translate everything when you first start learning that. It's very difficult. It takes energy. It's the same sort of thing, just a different type of translation. So that's why mentorship is so important. But I also think that some of the hard things are the just frank racism that occurs in the space, that you walk into a space and you are judged immediately by your hair, by your phenotype, how you look, and you're judged in that sort of way. Or are you speaking too loudly? Is your intonation correct? All of these little things are being judged. And you feel like in each moment your career is hanging in the balance. Yes. And that's a lot. And so you try to think about that all the time because you're actually supposed to be doing medicine or you're actually supposed to be doing other things. But that comes up all the time in multiple different encounters. So that's why spaces are very important because it's a fatigue. It's a fatigue.
Yeah, I would say in addition to people having to see what they can be, they also need people who can see what they can be. And that can be extraordinarily frustrating in academic medicine. I remember distinctly being told numerous times that I was not an academic, that I was not really a researcher, that I belonged in the community. Individuals said this without malintent. They actually thought they were helping me and guiding me. But what they were doing was putting me in a box that they felt comfortable with.
Yeah.
The best mentors in the world see the future of their mentees before they do. And usually when I'm mentoring a resident, I will tell them right off the bat, this is what you're going to be doing in 5 years. Give me a call and let me know if I was correct. And that's what you need from a mentor. You need a mentor who can visualize a future for you that you don't even know is possible. But if your mentors see you and decide for you what your future is based on your phenotype, based on their own stereotypes and their understanding of what you should be able to accomplish or what you can accomplish, then the vehicle that you should be utilizing to really help you visualize a future for yourself, that vehicle is gone. And so oftentimes, if you don't have a mentor who has a similar experience or who looks like you or who sounds like you or who's from the same city, who's the same race or ethnicity or gender, a mentor might be challenged to say, oh, actually, I see this future for you. And if you don't have that, you're already at a disadvantage because the best mentor-mentee relationships are when a mentee comes in and thinks, I can do about this much. And the mentor says, right, you're going to do about this much this year, but actually you're going to do about this much in your entire career, and I'm here to help you along that path. Right. But without someone helping to do that with you, you're already a step behind.
Even those words are tremendously life-changing, because that's another place where you can breathe, where you feel seen in a very different sort of way. So even if that person isn't saying, okay, we're going to write this paper together and I'm going to help you do that, even if that person that's not that person, someone who has the vision is a mentor. That person is a mentor. They're really helping you get out of the box that someone's put you in, closed up, is actively applying tape on, and saying, I have a box cutter, why don't we cut you out of that? And look at over here, there's like this whole other world. And that experience that conversation, it could be 10 minutes, it could be 15 minutes. That's mentorship, and it could be transformative.
I mean, I've spoken with residents of color who have come into residency and told me, I'm not interested in research. I want to go back to my community to care for patients. And I always tell them the same thing. I said, those two things are not mutually exclusive. I don't know who taught you that, but you can actually do research and care for your community. And then I challenge them a little bit further. I say, I would actually argue with you that the only way to do reasonable care for your community is to do research, because all research is asking an informed question about your patients. And because you are someone who looks like your patients, because you want to go back into your community, who better to ask that informed question? Not someone who has never been a member of that community, not someone who doesn't understand what's happening in the everyday lives of the patients that you're caring for. You are actually perfectly situated to take a step back and ask questions about systems, about challenges, about health outcomes, and reach your community in ways that perhaps you haven't even imagined. And it's always a surprise to me that I might be the first person who has told this individual that there is a way to both be in academia and serve your community, that it's not either or, it's really both and. And I think that really cements this idea that individuals are getting slotted into very specific camps early on in their careers. That is never a conversation I've had with someone who is not a minoritized individual.
Right.
I've never had someone who is white or straight or male come in and say, you know what, I just want to take care of my community. I don't want to do anything in academia. So clearly there are different conversations happening for different individuals, and we need to be able to change those conversations to offer opportunities to everyone. And if at the end you say, you know what, Dr. P, I really am not interested in research, okay. As long as you considered it a reality for you and made an informed decision to move away from it, that's totally fine. But to have this preconceived notion of what you can and can't do, of where you fit or where you belong, that's the worst way to enter into this space and be professionally fulfilled. Here at Brown, the Office of Belonging, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion is an office meant to really create community and find opportunities for growth for individuals who are minoritized and marginalized. And we utilize a very broad umbrella. So we don't only speak about individuals who are racially or ethnically minoritized. We also talk about individuals whose gender makes them minoritized, their gender identity might make them minoritized, their ability status. We want to invite everyone, into our tent to provide community support and opportunities that might not feel like they exist in other places within the medical school. So our office focuses on 4 key areas. The first is student belonging, where we try to create environments for all of our students where they feel comfortable and where they can thrive. The second area is the Center for Workforce Recruitment and Retention. That is an area focused specifically on residents, fellows, and faculty. And that continues the work of the Center for Student Belonging, where we are continuously looking for ways to create community for our trainees and for our faculty, but also to offer them opportunities for them to remain within academic medicine and then be successful in academic medicine. We have a Center for Education that focuses primarily on how we educate everyone in our community to create inclusive spaces, and a Center for Community Engagement and Pathway Programming, where we're really looking into our community to see what are the ways that we can bring individuals who are minoritized right here in the Rhode Island community into health professions education and make them a permanent part of the Brown family. We strongly believe that across these 4 areas, we have all kinds of opportunities to make people feel supported, make them successful, and most importantly, provide a clear path to attacking health inequities in the state of Rhode Island. We strongly believe that as we diversify the healthcare workforce, we have an opportunity to provide exceptional care right here locally, but also to create and to build on, I should say, not create, but really to build on the reputation that Brown has for creating equity-minded physicians and health professions, educators across the United States.
I think the office is, this is how the office looks now. In 5 years, it's going to look different. In 5 more years, it's going to look different because things are going to change. And so the fluidity of the center model, I think, is very helpful for us to be able to put new things in the centers. Who wants to come in, under the tent? What should we do? Should we add another pillar? I think that that's going to be extremely helpful, and it hasn't existed here, before in this very unified sort of way, and that takes vision, structure, funding, passion to sort of make that all become a reality. So I mean, for the center that I'm in charge of, which is workforce and recruitment, working with the faculty is extremely gratifying to me because they're a hard-working group of people that just want to feel like they belong. So we're trying to create that space where they could breathe. And so, one of the things we're doing is a Let's Get Outside campaign. So our Let's Get Outside is how we're going to get outside the box that we've been placed in. Where are we going to go in our community? How are we going to live our lives and see ourselves in lots of different ways? Let's get outside ourselves. And maybe that means let's actually get outside as opposed to being in the hospitals all the time. But let's take care of ourselves because if you don't, nobody else will. And let's model that for other people. So everything that we do helps somebody else because we're seen in how we live, how we act, and how we take care of ourselves. And it's being modeled. So one of the things that Dr. Potvin and I have in common is we've both been program directors. And when you read the criteria for a program director, we're supposed to be an exemplar. It's a big word.
It's a very big word.
And it's so, but one of the things we have to acknowledge is that there's a lot of eyes on us at all times. And I think that it's helpful for me to be able to recognize that what I'm supposed to do is live my truth. That's what I'm supposed to do. And if I do that, I'm helping someone. And that's a very powerful thing to say and to do.